the Cowboys' 4th pick in the draft, 5th round, Jaydon Blue from Texas. And this is probably just mostly because we're thirsty and desperate, and we're to the point where we're like, I don't know, maybe why can't we get 15 touches a game for Kevontae Turpin, who was in the UFL 3 years ago? And it's just because since Zeke, up until they drafted Blue, the running backs they had selected were Pollard, Deuce Vaughn, Mike Weber in 2019 in the 7th round, and then this one's really going to blow you away. It was Bo Scarborough.
Oh, yeah.
In the 7th round in 2018. They haven't drafted any running backs. Like, they've run the full philosophical gamut of how to treat the position since they drafted Zeke. Like, all right, we're going to draft one top 5. We're going to pay him 2 years before he really needs to be paid.
That was probably the worst part of the whole thing.
Not probably.
The whole Zeke experience. Like, drafting him, he was actually awesome.
I wouldn't have done it, but
yeah, but if you're going to draft somebody
you could
that
make,
high
you
and
could
they
make the
are
case.
like one of the 3 best running backs in the NFL, you're like, okay.
Yeah. You actually could make the case that those first 3 years he might have given you enough to be, I don't know, not 4th overall, but a top pick.
Yeah. You generally don't want that because you're generally not even going to sign the running back to the second deal these days. But if you are going to, same with Saquon. I mean, he was awesome. Well, he was more injury prone even than
Zeke, yeah.
Than Zeke, but
the suspension issue. But yeah, no, they were not like.
But the 2 years before them caving to a definite bluff in training camp, there's absolutely no way Zeke does not report for that season. He saw what just happened to Le'Veon Bell. That was not going to happen again. But the Cowboys always live in the – well, at least they're not doing this now, but they were living in this zone of, man, we're right there. We're probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. If we don't have this guy, we can't. At least they're not in that
They're not in
game
that
anymore.
So they did decide to move on from Zeke the first time. They had Pollard. They had drafted Pollard in the 4th round. Great value. Produced a ton for him. Produced way over his salary. Franchised him and let him go. Not exactly even sure why. They easily could have paid him what he got in Tennessee. They had Dowdle. Dowdle pops for a year when he finally gets run. They easily could have kept Dowdle. But they
Dowdle Pollard would have been great.
Dowdle Pollard would have been great. And
just
now
to have that duo.
I'm kind of wishing you had Dowdle and Jaydon Blue because I believe in Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, 0. They're not NFL players. But Jaydon Blue might be. He really only had the ball a lot for 1 year because as Texas has gotten better, they have some crowded rooms. You know, like Jaydon Blue was a big deal coming out of Klein in high school. But he never, he had 1 year of 180 carries last year because there were a lot of NFL backs and receivers on that offense. So I don't think the fact that he wasn't like a bell cow is a knock. I think it's just because he was around a lot of talented backs. But just flat out from are these games still going to be boring to watch standpoint, they haven't had a guy like this in ever. Maybe.
What do you mean?
I mean, he had –
You're saying he is
I don't know
not
that I'm
boring to watch.
I don't know that I'm trusting a pro day 40 time, but if someone with a clock says you ran a 4.28, like you're on another planet speed-wise. That's by far the fastest time in this draft. By far. Like Pollard's a 4.5 guy and had juice. Jaydon Blue might be a legit 4.3 guy. And he's short, but he's not small. He yards after contact in the open field, he was number 1. Yards after contact behind the line of scrimmage, he was like number 2 or number 3 in the nation. I mean, the guy breaks tackles with speed. And who's the last guy that could do that? It's just Pollard. So if you're looking at the last 10 to 15 years of Cowboys running backs, who would you say actually had real juice other than Pollard and like on his best day rookie Zeke? There aren't many. So worst case, he's something like a change of pace guy, but I think this guy's really important this year. I think by November, he's getting 2/3 of the touches. And maybe earlier, because they don't have to force feed Zeke like Mike McCarthy had to shelving Dowdle for the first month of the season relative to the extent he should have been playing. So
5'9".
5'9".
What do you think of that?
I
bad?
think if it said 5'10", you'd say it was fine.
Okay.
I think 5'10" for a running back is fine. He's like 200 pounds, isn't he?
He looks bigger than Turpin.
Oh, that's not even I don't think that's even a question.
Because that's the issue with giving Turpin the ball 15 times a game.
And to your point, not that this is necessarily related to size, but he fumbled a lot last year. A lot. Like 7 times. So that's an issue. But man, if you're just talking, he also ended up with like 32 catches, 500 yards, and 6 scores through the air last year. Had a couple of them against Ohio State. He's a guy.
He pass protect though?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
At least not yet. And that's the problem, right? Is that you want this guy on the field on passing downs for a couple reasons. One, the NFL last year averaged the second most attempts per game on the ground since like 1993 or something. It was high. But I think that's working because teams are running into passing fronts. The NFL is still set up to play pass defense, and I think you can get backs that can just run right into, like they say he's not great at lane recognition. I'm hoping that's not much of a problem. Like I want him out there on third down because they can hand him the ball. He's a capable route runner. But he also might get your frail quarterback killed early on. So they're going to have to they got to get this guy a ball.
That's a tough one to figure out.
It is a tough one to figure out. You can play 2-back sets. I think he lined up in the slot at a higher rate than any other running back in the NFL in college football last year. But I swear to God, if people start saying maybe he's a little wide receiver action here, no, you don't need a wide receiver. I'll kill myself right there at training camp. They still need a second wide receiver. But I think this guy is very capable of being like a 12 to 15 touch guy and being as good as Pollard was pretty quickly.
How tall is Deuce Vaughn?
Like 5'6", 5'7".
Deuce Vaughn's that short?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, this guy's bigger.
He's listed at 5'6". Deuce Vaughn
Which means
might
he's
be
not
5'5".
Damn. Why did they draft him?
Well, I mean, in theory,
he was productive.
He was productive.
Not for the Cowboys.
And in theory, there's a role for him, but obviously what screws him is just roster size. Like, he's not big enough to play special teams. And it's very hard to be a running back who doesn't play special teams if you can't consistently make plays.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine they're not asking Devon Achane to play special teams, but they can get him the ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's hard. There's only a few of those guys in the league who are like legit third running backs who don't play special teams. Like Lipke should play over Deuce Vaughn.
And he does usually.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point goes back to why is he even on the team?
Have you seen the video?
I saw the video. It's very emotional and it's got a lot of clicks, and that's what we're doing.
Well, I think he's.
So you're fired up about Jaydon Blue.
I am. They took another running back in the 7th round that I don't really know anything about, but I think it can't be worse, dude.
It's odd too. They actually have a crowded running back room right now.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Deuce Vaughn won't be on the team.
I think it's going to be tough.
But
One of these guys will be
Miles
on
Sanders,
IR all year or something. One of them will get cut. Deuce might get cut.
Miles Sanders was pretty good a few years ago.
Yeah, and what you're trying to do is catch a guy who can be pretty good now for 1 or 2 years and then move on, or pair him with another guy. Like, it wouldn't be insane if next year they drafted a running back in the 4th and they just had Jaydon Blue and fill in the blank backup running back from the SEC, and now that's how you run. That's the way to do it.
So having rotating the running back rotation, whatever, you don't have one main guy anymore. But you have a good offensive line, in theory, right?
Yes.
You really paid attention to that. And you've got Dak and you got CD. But like you said, they don't even have a competent number 2 wide receiver. So that hurts the running game, I would think, quite a bit. Like, that seems to be a huge hole. A huge hole.
It is. And while it seems too easy to think that they could just go get a capable NFL veteran right now, I don't think they'll do it because I want them to.
Is Amari
and
Cooper
because it's been staring them in the face for the past 2 seasons.
Have you heard the Amari Cooper stuff?
Yeah, but I think you hear that mostly just because people are desperate as hell to throw a name on here. Like, what's Keenan Allen up to?
Would that be worthy or no? Amari Cooper.
100%. I don't know what you. Yeah,
I would love that.
Okay. I just don't know if he's fallen off enough
Well,
or too much.
the question is he better than Jalen Tolbert or
Okay.
Jalen Brooks?
Yeah.
And that's like, there's 100 of those. You might not be able to get the top 50 of them, but there's another group. So that is glaring. But as far as having a decent offensive line to work behind and the chance to have some explosive running game, which apparently are requisite for Prescott to be able to win at this point, I feel decent about it. And it's only May.